Jazzcast Pros.
What if I told you that you could get 1,000 new leads between now and the end of the year? Would you think that's possible? Would you try? In today's episode, I'm going to go through 5.2 ways that I think that you can work on to get 1,000 new leads by the end of the year. Welcome to High Vibe Table Talks, the podcast to help you, the current or aspiring solopreneur, navigate the messy middle so you can make both an income and an impact. My name is Mershon Hargrave, your host. I am a little congested. My voice is not great right now. I'm fighting something off. I actually feel the best today that I felt in probably over a week. But I'm very excited to get into today's topic. It was something that I wanted to do for my own business, and I was like, once I mapped it all out, I was like, this needs to be an episode. So the topic is how to get I have my piece of paper, I was writing it all out for myself, and it's my path to 1,000 new leads by the end of the year. And that seems aggressive, seems like a big goal, but when I mapped it out, it's like totally doable. And I wanted to share how I'm taking action, what my plan is, how I'm taking action on it every day, and what it looks like for me. So today is November 4th, but when I said, okay, how many days until the end, from now until the end of the year, it's like 56, I think. And there's like 8 weeks and 1 day left. So I was like 8 weeks, perfect. And so I was like, what is 1,000 divided by 8? 1,000 divided by 8 is 125. So if I can get 125 new leads every week, for 8 weeks, I'll have 1,000 new leads. And if I divide 125 by 5, so 5 days in a week, it is 25 per day. As I say a lot of sales is math, and it's creating an equation and sticking to that equation and seeing if that equation works. You know, we're in our Thomas Jefferson era where we're trying to see what works. And so can I get 25 new leads per day? You know, I was listening to a Rachel Rodgers podcast episode recently, and someone was asking her, if you needed X number of new leads, what would you do? And she said, whatever you would show up to consistently. And so write out the different ways in which you do bring in leads. And I'm going to share 5.2 ways that I bring in leads and then how I'm going to take action on them every day. And I'm not going to show up to every single one every day, but I'll get more into that. Because especially in the beginning, you're trying to figure out where are the leads going to come from, where is the most effective place for me to go. And so I think this is a really good way to see how it feels to show up, see what sort of feedback you get when you show up, which space do you enjoy showing up to the most, and using all of that and pouring that into the 80-20 rule that I talked about a while back, where it's like 80% of your leads come from 20% of your activity. And as you dive in and really take action on these every day, you're like, okay, I really enjoy showing up here, but it didn't produce a lot of leads. I don't enjoy showing up here, but it produced a lot of leads. I really enjoy showing up here, and it produced a lot of leads. And so as you start to drill down into the data, now if you take action on these every day from now until the end of the year, imagine how many more leads you're going to have at the start, January 1 of 2025. And you're going to have so much data on where you enjoy showing up, where's the most effective place for you to show up, what's the most effective activity, things that don't work. You're going to try things that don't work and don't create leads. And so January 1, if you do this starting today, every day from now until the end of the year, you're going to start January 1 with so many new leads and so much data. And that is so exciting to me when I sat down and thought about it, which is partially why I wanted to share it on here today. So step number 2, I think, is what constitutes a new lead. Where I am in my business right now, I would love if I had 1,000 new email followers by the end of the year. Do I think that's totally possible with the bandwidth I have at the moment and the activity I'm going to be taking? Probably not. And I say that because, my first example I'm going to get into is around LinkedIn. And do I think that every single person that I reach out to connect with on LinkedIn is going to hit accept? No. Is every single person that does accept going to be added to my email list? No. Will I start to have conversations with the people who do accept? Yes. Will their feed now contain activity that I'm doing? Yes. So their eyes are now on my stuff. I have moved them from one part of the funnel into the next. They're kind of in the ether right now, and creating a new prospect or a new lead for me is moving them into a marketing qualified lead. They're in my universe. They're seeing my stuff. They have at least seen my name, because even if they don't accept, if they hit decline, they have at least seen my name. If I get 1,000 new people to see my name and I get 10% of them to convert to my email list, which is 100 new people, that's amazing. Like, that's huge. So you have some gray area as far as like, what is a new lead to you? And you'll see that as I go through the different revenues that I'm bringing in leads. You can use your creativity to define what a lead means, but really at the end of the day, I think this is taking a lot of action, and a lot of intentional action, a lot of action that you can put data around. And to be fair, this is like between 1 to 2 hours a day. It's not like to create 1,000 new leads, I need to be on one of these platforms 8 hours a day, every day between now and January 1st. And so there's two sides to that. First, I divided it into 5 work days, so I'm not doing this work on the weekends. I can show up to Instagram and Threads or Facebook or whatever on the weekend if I choose, but I don't have to. And second to that is there's a couple of holidays in between now and then. So Thanksgiving, obviously, the Friday after Thanksgiving is when we always put up our tree. So that day is a no work day for me. It always has been, Christmas, the day after Christmas, all those sorts of holidays are there. Because it's 1 to 2 hours a day, let's say it's the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I know I'm taking Thursday and Friday off. I have to take those 25 new leads. So those 2 to 4 hours that I would put on Thursday and Friday, I'm going to add them on to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So it's a really nice formula that you can add and subtract in different places based on your schedule, what you need, what availability you have that day. I mean, really, if it's 1 hour a day, that's 5 hours for the week. You can take Monday and make Monday just a prospecting day if you'd like. If that's something that you need to do that week, if that suits your attention span better, like some people can sit down for 6 hours and just prospect, and that's a really effective use of their time. I don't know if I have the capacity to do that. I get a little stir crazy after a little while. Okay, so that's kind of the math for every day between now and the end of the year. So 1 to 2 hours a day prospecting. The way that I'm approaching this challenge is that each day of the week is going to be dedicated to a different platform. And why I'm doing it that way is because, as I said before, I want to really gather a lot of data from this exercise. And I want to see, do more leads come in from different platforms, and is 1 to 2 hours like enough time per platform? Which platform do I enjoy spending time in? That's why I created 5, so that 5 days of the week I have a plethora of places I'm pulling from, a plethora of places where I'm putting my energy. I'm not like stale or stagnant on one platform. And also, I never think it's a good idea to put all your eggs in one basket when it comes to your business. I have always heard that 7 streams of revenue is what makes a healthy business. Because if one of those, let's say you make a lot of money on Instagram for the ads or YouTube for the ads, that's a better example. But let's say YouTube revenue is 95% of how you make your money. YouTube's algorithm changes tomorrow and that plummets, and now you're like, well, how do I make up for that? If you have it diversified across many platforms, that hit hurts you less. And so it's the same thing with leads. If all of a sudden Threads changes the algorithm, it's not going to hurt me as much because I'm pulling in leads from other places. So you're pulling in data for the 80-20 rule. You're diversifying in case of algorithm changes. You don't own any of these. Ideally, you want to pull all of these people into your email list because that is one thing you do have control over. And so the main goal after getting them from the ether into your universe is converting them into email. I think that is super important. But having that diversity of places you're showing up allows for those hits to be less and less. So what are the 5 places I'm showing up to, and how am I showing up to each of those 5 places for the next 8 weeks to generate leads? As I said, LinkedIn was going to be my first one. LinkedIn has actually created quite a few leads for me. I don't know if it's the highest number of leads on this list, but it's up there. My friction with LinkedIn is a couple of things. It's not a platform I super enjoy showing up to. And so I have found a formula in which I can show up that feels easy, but I don't tend to just open up LinkedIn and spend a lot of spare time on it. And so it's just a bit of a heavier lift for me to show up to that platform, but it does produce results. And so that's something that I have to manage with my energy. But what my formula currently looks like is I have found a couple of hashtags that resonates with my audience. So I'll put that in the search bar. So I'll put solopreneur, podcaster, entrepreneur, small business, women in small business, different things like that. I'll put that in there. And when the profiles come up, I filter it by people who've posted using that hashtag-ish in the past week. There's a couple you do in the past 24 hours, in the past week, in the past month, something like that, or ever. And you could do a couple other filters of how they're connected to you, things like that. But I do in the past week. Then I just start to scroll through, and if a profile resonates with me, I'm looking for solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, so you can kind of see their latest post, what their job title is. And so I kind of scroll through there, and if there's someone who resonates with me in one of those things, I'll click on their profile and kind of scroll down, give it a quick glance. I'm not trying to see if this is the perfect lead for me. I'm not trying to see, will this person definitely buy from me? I'm just trying to gauge whether I think they may be an addition to my universe. That's it. And I hit connect. I send with no note. I think I talked in a previous episode. I used to send notes to everybody. LinkedIn wants you to buy their sales package, and so they reduce the number of notes that you can send for free every month. So I updated my profile so people got that vibe when they got to my profile versus in that initial message. And I got really good results from that, really good feedback. So I send without a note, and 25 of those takes me about an hour. If I did just that on LinkedIn every day, it would take me longer because when I do it once a week or once every 2 weeks, there's less likely to be overlap because there are people who are using that hashtag a couple times a week. So you'll see the same person in your feed kind of showing up. But when I do it once a week, once every 2 weeks with the same hashtag, it takes me about an hour to do 25 of those. Are 25 people going to hit accept? No. People aren't on LinkedIn that often. People just let those things sit. They may have never heard of me, so why would they accept? So it's not a 100% rate, obviously. So let's say you do take 2 hours and do 50. You're more likely to get 25 people to say yes. But again, them just seeing your name, I think, is a positive. And so that will be part of my 25 touches that day. Part 2, and this may be where the second hour of the 2 hours of prospecting a day that you do need to build in, is once people accept, what is your follow-up to them? You do want to get them on your email list. So what is the next part of the cadence that is creating that connection from there? So I have a script of message 1 and message 2 that I follow up once people accept. Again, it's just getting them engaged, looking at your profile, sharing a little bit about what you do, but not in a pushy sales and I can share that script with you. But that's how I'm planning on doing prospecting on LinkedIn. Again, that'll be once a week. I will prospect on LinkedIn. Place number 2 that has been really effective for me. This is probably my number 2. LinkedIn and Threads are 1A and 1B. And so Threads is the second place where I'm going to show up to generate leads. This looks a little bit different because if you follow somebody on Threads, they're not necessarily going to follow you back, and now you don't have someone new in your audience. And so this type of activity is going to look a little bit different. And so for me, it's commenting on at least 30 posts. I've really curated my feed to look a certain way so that like people who may be a good lead for me are frequently in my feed. And so commenting on 30 of other people's posts, hopefully bringing people in when they like my comment, and then posting 10 times that day. Again, posting, showing up on Threads once a week and posting 10 posts within an hour, probably not great for the algorithm. That being said, I post a lot and I'll do clumps of posting, and it's not necessarily bad. I think it's just more about showing up consistently that really works with Threads. There are schedulers out there so that you can, maybe create 20, 30 threads and then you can schedule them out. I have never used a scheduler with Threads, but again, just ideas. And so spending an hour to 2 hours on Threads once a week is a way that I'm going to bring visibility to my profile, visibility to my website. I have had quite a few. Threads is definitely where I have gotten my most number of email subscribers over the past 2 months. By far exponentially more than any of the other platforms. People have signed up for my virtual co-working via Threads, and then they actually show up to the co-working very frequently. And so I really enjoy Threads. I like the algorithm. It's not ad heavy. It's, still on the newer end of social media. So I really like it. Okay, place number 3, Instagram. I probably don't need to dive deep into what this looks like because there's a million people telling you how to show up on Instagram. But again, what does a new lead look like to you? Is it more followers? That's really great to have new followers, obviously. And so for me, what that looks like is once a week, at least, creating a reel. That's how I have found you get new followers, is because the reels push out to a much bigger audience, whereas your post pushes out to a small percentage of your audience. And so reels would be a way to get new followers. Messages to current followers checking in, or thank you for liking my post, or some sort of message engagement with your current followers, because maybe they follow you but they don't see a lot of your stuff, or if you're messaging, your stuff is going to show up more frequently on their feed. They also may be more likely to convert to an email subscriber if you engage with them. And then commenting on other people's posts, whether you're using hashtags. Again, you can go into the hashtags and find new people that way and comment under their stuff. Messaging isn't really great in that because it hides messages from non-followers, so that's not really great, but commenting could bring new eyeballs to your profile. And the last one on Instagram is collaborating. So going on live, using other people's platforms to bring eyeballs to you, your profile. So maybe one of your followers wants to do an IG live about something that you want to talk about. All my podcast episodes, I put out media on Instagram and I ask the guest to be a collaborator. So that brings other people's eyeballs to me and my platform. So again, 1 to 2 hours a week on Instagram, kind of doing one of those or a couple of those things. Some of these may not work. As I said in the beginning, think about if you create reels, comment on other people's posts, do a collab, send a couple messages to your current followers, how much data you're going to have on January 1st to then go and run with. So some of this may not work for you. You may not enjoy it. Maybe you don't like creating reels. Maybe you don't like showing your face. Maybe there are certain types of reels you enjoy creating over others. You're going to have so much data. So number 4, direct mailers. This is probably the most labor intensive. And so this may go outside of the 1 to 2 hours. So direct mailers are finding people that you can mail or drop stuff off to. And so if you're dropping it off, obviously it has to be in a vicinity that works for you. Mailers are going to cost more than other, obviously more than social media is. But I think the effectiveness goes up quite a bit because we don't get that sort of outreach as frequently as we used to. Because of the rise of social media, people don't send the physical mailers as much. And so if you did want to do in your area, find 100 people. Maybe this is like your Monday activities, finding 100 people that you could send a direct mailer to. 100 people is obviously like the 25 per day. It gives you a lot of leverage for the next couple of weeks, because once you find those, then maybe week 2 on your direct mailer day is writing out 100 cards to these people. You have their name, you have a script. You don't need to make it specific to them other than their name and their business. But so now number 2 is writing out 100 cards. And then the following week is stamping and going to the post office to mail out those 100. And so you're not necessarily doing from A to Z on one day for 25, or maybe you do the 25 in one day. But if you do 100 over the course of the 4 weeks on the one day, now you're at your 25 per day. Again, it's all math. I hope that makes sense. I hope I wasn't like talking in circles too much for you to understand. So you can do mailers or you can drop them off. The key, it's 1 to 2 hours a day. And as I said with LinkedIn and with all of these, you have to make sure you build in time for follow-up. So once you send those mailers, what is your follow-up? Once they're a part of your email list, what is your email cadence? Once they hit yes on connecting with you on LinkedIn, what is your script that you're going to then send them next? And so you have the direct mailers. The follow-up may be a direct email or a phone call. I know phone calls are scary, but what is your plan of action? Like, don't just let them get this cool mailer and then never hear from you again. I have done that a lot. If that's what you do, if that's what you're doing, if you have done that, that's okay. Don't let that be, I can't do this because then I have to make these phone calls. Like, it's all right. But do have some plan of action around once you send the mailer, what are you going to do next? That was number 4, direct mailers. And place number 5 is Facebook. I have found hit or miss success on Facebook. Really, those are in like the groups. I'm a part of like a handful of groups. And so I'll take an hour and I'll go into the different groups and see what people are talking about and comment on a bunch of people's things. Like for me, in a lot of the groups, people are like, oh, like who needs accountability? And I'm like, hey, I have virtual co-working every Wednesday. I'd love for you to join. Here's the link. And so figuring out ways to be of value in each of those groups, seeing if you can convert any of them, and some of them, there's this one I'm a part of, which is pretty good. And every day has a different like theme, and the head of the group, she'll post. And so every Wednesday is like, share your voice. And so it's like, do you have a podcast? Do you have this? Do you have that? Fridays, like follow Friday. So it's like, do you have an Instagram? Like share it here. And we trade and we like go and we're like, oh, I'll follow a couple people and I always get followers from that. I always get listens when I share my podcast in there. And so she's curated a really nice space for people to share their thing and also have it really like a nice space for you to go and find others. And so Facebook groups is number 5 for the places that I'm going to show up to start generating leads, and is part of my path to 1,000 new leads by the end of the year. I just talked a lot and I feel like very fast. I don't know if it came off as fast if you followed this at all, but I did say 5.2, and the point 2 is going to be from referrals. Send out an email to all of your current and or past clients saying, hey, thank you so much for being a client of mine. The best word of mouth is from people who have used my services before. If there's anyone that you think would be a good fit, I'd love for you to share my information with them. Here's what I'm looking for. Here's my ideal client. Here's an easy link for them to set up a call with me. Here's an easy link for them to join, in my case, virtual co-working. Do I have 25 new referrals I'm going to be able to reach out to every day? Of course not. I mean, I'm not in a place right now where that is something I have, but they carry a lot more weight. And so 1 or 2 emails out to previous clients probably adds up to the same as like 25 cold outreaches via Instagram, And so the weight of them carry more. And so just don't forget to add that in. And yeah, I would love if you join this challenge with me. I didn't make it anything official. Again, I just was writing this out today and was like, this would be really cool to talk about on the podcast. And I might put it out on my social media of like, hey, I want to generate 1,000 new leads before the end of the year. Join me in creating 25 per day from now until the end of the year. So let me know if you do. Let me know if you got something out of it. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. It means so much. And thank you for listening. Remember that big dreams and small steps will transform your life.